You are listening to the CADDle Call podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The CADDle Call podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the CADDle Call podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am Jim, your very silly but somehow still remarkably charming host. And with me, as always, is my partner.
It's Rocco. And who the heck said that you're charming?
I say that myself. Nobody else will. So somebody should compliment me. And since you don't, I figured I'd do it myself. How's that?
Great.
Listen, if you wait around for people to compliment you in life, you're going to be waiting a long time. But because of that meanness, because you didn't compliment me, you know what time it is now. You know what I have to do to you.
It's time to make the donuts.
It's time for the engineering joke of the week. And you're going to particularly, you're going to particularly hate this one because it's a joke that I know I have told you myself at least a half dozen times. So I'm going to share it with everybody here on the CADDle Call. All right, so check this, right? So there's an old mechanical engineer retires, right? And then about a year or so later, his company calls him up. They're having an issue with one of the machines that he helped design. And nobody else in the company can figure out what's wrong. So they ask him if he could come in and help him out. And he agrees, and he comes in. And the guy walks up to the machine, opens up a panel, and he kind of stares in it for a minute or two. After a couple of minutes, he just reaches into his coat pocket. He pulls out a piece of chalk, and he puts an X on a particular piece. And he says, replace that. And then he leaves. He goes home. Right? Sure enough, the company replaces the part. Everything works fine, running like a champ. A couple of days later, right, the company gets a bill from the retired engineer for $100,000. They're like completely freak out, and they call him going, saying this fee is ridiculous, it's outrageous. We want an itemized bill of expenses. This is no problem. Next day, he sends over an itemized bill. It says line 1 piece of chalk, cost $1. Line 2, knowing where to make the chalk mark, cost $99,999. So, it's a great joke. It's a great story. And I've used that 100 times when Rocco and I were talking to talk about the difference between, Rocco is a sales guy. He sells products and things, and I'm a tech guy, right? It's the difference of charging people for what you're giving them versus what you know. So it's a very old joke. I remember my father told me that joke, I think, when I was like 18. Very, very old joke, but I love it. So there's your joke of the week. And here, right, just so everybody knows, I put in a little bad joke sound effect at the end there. All right. So today we are talking. See, I have told you that joke before, haven't I?
I think so.
I think so too. All right. So today we're talking about construction analytics using Procore. Look, Procore it's the leading construction management software that's out there on the market today. I mean, even those of us who don't, necessarily use it for our own companies, you've likely had to work with it at some level, right? You may need to collaborate with someone who's managing a project in Procore, or, you're acting as a sub for someone who is. And Procore is an amazing system, but it's actually noted for being a bit on we'll call it the dry side. There's a lot of text and numbers-based features for budgeting and forecasting. And it's got nice tools for storing and sharing files, etc. But the one thing I think that everybody agrees on is that while Procore does an amazing job of handling the day-to-day project management and scheduling on individual projects, it can be tough to get overall information, particularly across multiple projects. And generating reports that are dynamic and give you an overview of company level workloads and overages and fees and profits on multi-project or even regional levels can be next to impossible, or at least it used to be next to impossible. And that's what I want to talk about today, right? It's a concept of analytics and how they can be incorporated into your Procore project management system to give you guys dynamic, intelligent, graphics-based dashboards and reports that can quite literally change the way that your company makes business decisions. And as one of only a handful of certified Procore consultants here in the U.S., Zentech has been doing a lot of work in this area recently, and I am seeing more and more construction companies who are clamoring for better financial and scheduling information out of their Procore data, right? That can be presented in a relatable, understandable way. So Rocco, like I say, it seems we've been doing just more and more Procore consulting and support work over the last year. It's been real busy for us. How much has that business grown for us, and what do you think is kind of driving that change?
Yeah, I think that we probably see 2 to 3 companies a month reaching out to us for help on the consulting end. So it's definitely an area that we're seeing growth in. I think it's partially attributed to the shortage in employees, right? I mean, finding good talent, and it's like, where do you put your talent? Do you put your talent in hiring somebody who's going to be able to to learn Procore with the depth that a consultant like us has, or do you just hire somebody who knows what they're doing and can get it done quicker, better, faster, right? So yeah. I think that's probably what it comes down to is just that's what's driving it is, the product is definitely a good and solid product and is very, very widely used, but it's just finding the right resources to be able to do it.
Yeah, I think your point's real valid, right? When you've got good people, you want them focused on what your primary function is. Right? If you build things, you want your best people building things. You don't want them playing in the back ends of your project management software. So let's start today with the concept of analytics, right? And what it is. We're going to focus on construction analytics for today's podcast. But generally, the concepts that we're talking about here are going to apply to just any industry, whether it's construction, architecture, engineering, or if you're a beekeeper, it doesn't matter. It's the same stuff. Analytics is defined as information resulting from the systematic analysis of data or statistics. There's the formal definition. There you go. Look at that. You didn't think I came up with that, did you? I had to copy that from someplace. I ain't smart enough to come up with words that long. In other words, for people like me who ain't that bright, it's a way of sorting and making sense of a ton of information that would take hours or days to sort through and make decisions from on your own, right? And in a construction world, that's particularly true. The sheer amount, I guess, of information rolled into a single construction job is just staggering. All right, think about what data we're working with every day, right? Even on a small commercial project, we're dealing with budgets, schedules of values, KPIs, labor costs, material costs, time and delivery delays, change orders, permitting fees. And those are just a couple of examples out of the hundreds of bits of data that you have to sort through on every single job, right? And the bigger the job, the more data there is. But that data is what we use to make all of our decisions. Is the steel delivery delayed, right? How much is that going to put me behind schedule? What is that going to do to my budget? Can I shift contingency to cover those costs? How much can I shift, right? And those are the simple daily project management type decisions for one job, right? So imagine trying to work at the director or management level where you need to coordinate all of that information across, a few $1 billion worth of projects every year. Right? Analytics, it's a means of collating all that data into easily readable, searchable, and adjustable visuals. Right? And that's the key. It's all about visual here. A few charts, graphs, and tables that can summate all that info into something that you can understand and work from in just a few seconds. Man, that is worth its weight in gold. Procore has integrated an entire analytics section into their system that does just that. And, like I was saying earlier, the adoption of it's taken off like a rocket. Rocco, in terms of analytics in Procore, how are are construction clients responding to the concept once they see it in action?
I mean, they love it, but I think, I think back to, and I don't think back to, I mean, the realistic fact is that, so many construction companies are still behind on technology. And so, to see that now this kind of functionality is built into Procore, which is a tool that they have at their fingertips, is hugely impressive, but it can scare people too, right? I mean, you're using a lot of big fancy language here, and I mean, do you have to be, a statistical person or an accountant to understand all this,
Right.
So there are definitely a lot of questions that come up, but there's definitely interest.
Yeah. So yeah, you're absolutely right on all counts, right? And we're gonna talk about that, particularly in the second half of the show, about what you do and what you don't need to know to use this type of tools. All right, so I think one of the best benefits of the Procore analytics system is that it lets you build graphic dashboards that are more than just static pictures. All of the values that you see, the charts, the data, the graphics, they're all updated either daily or on a schedule that you can set to show you the most updated information on your projects, right? And the other real benefit is that Procore Analytics has what we call a drill down feature. And in other words, you can click on any of these graphics, right, and drill farther down, either into like subcharts, other graphics, or back to the original Procore data that they were built from. So think about that for a minute, right? If you have a dashboard that is showing you a graphic of all the cost overruns for projects that you're working on throughout the entire US, right? And one job seems to be way higher than all the others. You just click on the graphic right there in front of you to get down to the details of why that's happening. It really is. It's the most user-friendly and incredibly powerful system that I've ever seen for kind of tracking, financials and schedules and trends across all your jobs, while still being able to drill down to those specifics of why one certain job is a month behind on the drywall install. The Procore Analytics system lets you kind of tie into literally any data that Procore can access. Right? That means that all your budgets, all your schedule of values, your bids and commitment data, as well as any financial integrations that you might have, right, with your ERP or your accounting system. And not only that, but you can even use Excel files and access databases or any other raw data source that you need by putting it right into the Procore directory structure, and you can read from there as well. With your analytics set up and in place, you can do a lot more than just report on that data as well, right? I mean, you can pull, we'll say, the plumber's billings from to date from the Procore system, right? Calculate the remaining hours from the Microsoft project schedule for the plumber, and then multiply those remaining hours by a labor rate that you have in an Excel file, right? And then add in a general 5% month over month cost increase because copper's going through the roof this year, right? So basically what Procore Analytics does is it lets you piece together the information you need in the way that you need it calculated, right? And then present it in a simple to read graphic that's always up to date and accurate. Look, and it's kind of what Rocco was hinting at before, right? With that said, it's powerful, but there is a bit of a process to getting yourself set up and pulling the results that you want from that analytics system, right? And that's kind of what I want to talk about in the next half of the show after we hear from today's sponsor. So stand by, folks. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more of the CADDle Call podcast. Hey everybody, this is Jim and Rocco with Zentech Consultants, and we wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the training options that we have available here for you guys at Zentech Consultants. We offer public training classes as well as private custom courses for all of your software and design needs. So, Rocco, why don't you tell the folks what kind of training we offer and how do they reach out to us to get it going for them?
Yeah, Jim, we cover everything from Bluebeam to Autodesk to Microsoft to BricsCAD. to civil site design training and beginner through to advanced level topics. Like you said, both public and private courses. If you got a group and want to run a class specifically for your team, we can help you. So just feel free to hit our website. We're at zentechconsultants.net. That's Zentek, or you can give us a ring, 866-824-4459, or even drop us an email, sales@zentechconsultants.net.
There you go, Zentech Consultants for all of your technology training need. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the CADDle Call podcast. We're talking about Procore Analytics today and why it's something that every single listener out there should be looking into if you're not already on that road. Kind of in the first half of the show, we talked about the benefits of the system, and in this half, I wanted to talk a little bit about the how, I guess, of getting Procore Analytics up and running for your company. So to begin with, you need to understand that the Procore Analytics interface, it's actually based off of the Microsoft Power BI platform. That means that you are going to have to get some Power BI licenses for your users to be able to access and use the Procore Analytics data. And look, if they're just reading this, right, in other words, they're consumers of data, they're just looking at the graphics, I'm pretty sure all they need is the free Power BI license that you can get with any Microsoft Office 365 licenses you have. If you want your people to be able to, modify the dashboards and customize them to your needs and so on, they're going to need a full Power BI Pro license, which honestly it's like $10 a month per user, right? So it's just absolutely no worries about cost. Stuff's really affordable. Essentially, Procore has put together a number of brilliantly designed standard Power BI reports and dashboards that just run right inside of Procore. And you can use either Procore or the Power BI desktop editor to build and modify these to your heart's content, right? So you can work in either platform with the same files. So, this way you get exactly the business info that you need when you need it, right? Here's one thing I do want to stress, though, is that the out-of-the-box reports from Procore for your analytics, they're really nice, but they are generic, right? They're meant to be examples of what you can do in Procore Analytics. They are not, I'm going to stress it again, they are not meant to be used on your actual jobs. I run into that caveat with clients all the time, right? They think they can just, turn on the analytics module and, everything they ever dreamed of is right there and it's just going to work. Yeah, it won't. You're going to need to build your own dashboards and your own controls using bits and pieces of the standard reports that Procore gives you as your starting point. So Rocco, right? So, something that we actually do not talk a lot about on this podcast is that Zentech is actually a Microsoft partner. So, when it comes to getting folks squared away with Power BI licenses so they can start using Procore Analytics, what's the process for reaching out to Zentech to get some Power BI licensing behind it?
Yeah, really, whether it's Power BI licenses or Microsoft 365 licenses or Microsoft Project or even just general training on the Microsoft end, we can help. So, definitely reach out to us, sales@zentechconsultants.net, or call us 866-824-4459, or just hit up our website, zentechconsultants.net.
There you go. There's our advertising for the day. So, all right. So we did the advertising, right? So to balance that out, I'm gonna get brutally honest with you guys. Procore Analytics, it's amazingly powerful and it can do incredible things. But the truth is that setting it up effectively it's not something that a lot of people in the construction or design community are going to want to do for themselves, right? Look, the back end stuff isn't overly difficult, but it is time consuming, and it does require a pretty solid understanding and working knowledge of statistics, data management, and a pretty good level of general technology know-how. You really have kind of three ways, I guess, that you can go about setting up
Procore analytics in your company, right? First, you can go out and you can hire someone who knows Procore, who has a good understanding of analytics and statistics, and they also need to have a real good understanding of construction management processes, right? They need to know all three of those really well. And obviously, right, you're going to have to be prepared to pay a whopping salary for that person, especially right now, because all the big GC firms, right, the ones who are doing billions of dollars of billing every year, they're paying the very, very top dollar for those folks at the moment, because this is just, it's blowing up everywhere. The second thing, right, is that you can try to make do with someone in your office who knows some of those things. All right, and they're good at construction management and they're generally technically okay, but they don't really understand analytics. But you can start with that person and you can work with your current, your Procore account rep to kind of get the program going. And that is workable. It's doable. But honestly, I've seen a lot of frustrated clients go down that road. And it's not because Procore does anything wrong. It's just that Procore is focused on the overall success and sales of their software. And they work hard to make the software as good as it can be, but they don't really seem to have the staff or the focus or the desire to work with clients one at a time in customizing dashboards and reports to their specific needs. So a lot of times they kind of send you like, hey, here's a video, here's some tips, figure it out. And option 3, which, look, it's not going to be a surprise to anybody who's listening to this show, is to engage with a certified Procore consultant who specializes in this type of analytics work. And who would have guessed? Zentech just happens to be one of the very best at that. What were the odds? Who knew? And what we do for clients is, we sit with you guys to review and understand what your reporting goals and objectives are for an analytics system, and who needs to access and edit those reports and et cetera. And then from there, we'll develop recommendations on the best way to achieve those results, and honestly telling you what can and cannot happen, right? What will and won't work. And then we will actually go through and build those dashboards and reports for you, and then we push them right into your Procore account. And just like that, the info shows up for everybody in your company who needs it. It's just all right at your fingertips. So it's a pretty straightforward process. So Rocco, when we're talking to most folks about Procore analytics, do you find that they're looking for someone to kind of take that full load off their hands and just deliver results? Or are there a lot of folks who kind of want to work it and handle it themselves in-house and just want us to, point them in the right direction?
No, I mean, most of the time, by the time they come to us, they're kind of like, okay, we've done what we can. How do we get this done? They're kind of ready to get moving. And again, it gets down to not having the internal resources. I mean, everybody's just short-staffed, and it's one of those things where it's like, we've been meaning to get to this for the past 6 months, but it's not happening. So, this is why we're calling you guys. This is why we're reaching out.
Yeah, that does seem to be pretty common. Most of the guys that you pull me in to talk with, it's, we started down this road ourselves, and I just don't know what to do. I got in, I spent 3 days, and it was just a waste of time. It's too complex for me. So just kind of help you guys, right, with your process here. There are a few steps that are going to go into getting your Procore analytics up and running. For starters, you are going to need to work with your Procore account rep, right, to get analytics enabled for your company. And they'll also provide you with copies of those standard Procore dashboards and reports. And you need to work with them primarily because there's a back-end data store that's going to house all your information. And it acts as kind of the communication hub with Power BI. Right? And Procore is going to need to enable that for your account, right? And they'll give you a secure login, right, for that data store so that it's, not accessible to anybody who should not be accessing it. That way it keeps your info secure. And once that's in place, right, you're going to want to enable your Power BI licenses, right? And you can either engage with a consultant like Zentech or set an in-house employee to beginning to develop the individual, views and charts and controls and so on that you're going to want to see to keep track of your information. And actually a real big part of that process is data manipulation. In other words, taking the source data and formatting it in a way, particularly if that data is coming from outside of Procore, like a database or a spreadsheet, it has to be kind of manipulated into a format that can be read and reported on easily by the Power BI system. And from that, right, it's about customizing all the formulas and calculations and results that you're going to need to see in each of those graphics, right? Every single company calculates your costs and everything related to them differently, right? So you're going to want to spend time making sure that you have, all of the components, so I guess, properly in place before you go to a final build. And lastly, what you want to do is you want to put together viable graphics, things like world maps and bar charts and pie graphs and scatter charts and whatever type of graphic you think works best for displaying that type of information, right? That makes it easy for everyone to understand at a single glance, okay? And once all that back-end work is done, you're going to need to pin all your view panels, right? The individual charts and so on, to reports, which are kind of a collection of view panels, right? And then you put those reports together, multiple reports together, to make a dashboard, right, with multiple panes that people can work on. Think of it like a notebook with multiple pages in it. And really from there, once that's done, and it sounds easy, right? There's a lot of work that goes into that on the back end, but once that's all put together, right, it's just a matter of publishing your dashboard into Procore. Where everybody who you've given permission to can have all the data that they need to make, smarter, more profitable decisions. All that information is right in front of their eyes, graphically, all day, every day, with real-time data. And look, I'm sure that Power BI, it's not new to everybody, right? It's been the buzz for the last couple of years about, it's brilliant and it's changing the business world. And usually I call BS on buzz items like that, but in this case, it really is true. I have actually never seen anything this powerfully intuitive before. As Power BI, and Procore Analytics is taking that Power BI game changer, and they're incorporating it right into your everyday project management workflow. It's a level of control and responsiveness that stands to save hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for you every single year. And I suggest that, everybody listening, just jump on the line right now and to go help, get yourself to learn more about it. Or, you can always just give Zentech a call and wake Rocco up from his nap to help get you guys started on your analytics path. Okay. So with that, folks, I think we can wrap it up here for today. All right. And we will catch you guys next time on the CADDle Call podcast.
All right, everybody. Today's CADDle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.